China went from a country that was filled with poverty to a remarkably prosperous country. And I always so much have benefited from seeing this remarkable progress and also learning from how China succeeded, because the lessons from China are very relevant for other regions of the world, such as Africa today, which is still with great poverty, but also with tremendous potential based on the kinds of strategies that China used.
China has done a magnificent job of pulling hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. That means human rights. But human rights are the right to peace, the right to life, the right to food and water and sanitation and housing, etc. That must be recognized also by my leaders in the United States, by Joe Biden and by Anthony Blinken.
My visits to China really go back probably 20 years, and anyone who visits China frequently, as I did, you can't help but be impressed by how the infrastructure has changed, how effectively things get done.
I've been there a few times, and I've talked to members of the government, but also to common people, and I have traveled around by myself very freely, and I've noticed nothing different than other parts of China. Some development. The region has some opportunities. I tell you the truth, if I hadn't read the news, it would be impossible to feel that there is something different in Xinjiang than there is in the rest of China. So my sense is that the, let's say, accusations of genocide is not true.
From my personal observation, China's leaps and bounds in the past 4 decades are wedded to its people-centric governance. The ruling party, CPC, has been staying true to its founding role as the custodian of the people's well-being. It has the gumption to innovate its own formula of governance premised on the people's aspirations and the nation's priorities at different times. And CPC's bold decision to usher in the era of reform and opening up is a case in point.
I think in the founding manifesto of the Chinese Communist Party 100 years ago, it committed to the eradication of poverty in China. And it's taken 100 years to do this, an incredibly hard struggle, zigzag path, tremendous obstacles to overcome this. It had to follow its own independent path to do so. And I think that that is where the motivation comes from. And, and Deng Xiaoping, when he said, let some people get rich before others, he didn't just leave it at that, because he said, so that they can help others to catch up. And I think that this is now being brought into play in Xi Jinping's Common Prosperity Agenda for China. And it's essentially what China is seeking for the wider world as a whole.
I always think that as long as you have your people at the center of your attention as the ruling party, as long as you have the citizen at the center of all those efforts, you are doomed to succeed. You are doomed to achieve your dream and to turn it into a reality. This is what I want to say about the Communist Party. The Communist Party was instrumental. He played an instrumental role in leading all this change. China has become the first power worldwide as far as trade is concerned, commerce. China has become the second most important economic power in modern times. China is by far more advanced in the field of scientific research compared to all the other developed nations. So it's a country that has led successfully the foundation for a brighter future for the nation and for its people.
China, in its very patient, moderate way, according to its millennia of tradition and millennia of culture, Chinese like the drop that eventually pierces the stone, and that continues reminding the Security Council of the letter and spirit of the UN Charter, that continues reminding the Human Rights Council of the letter and spirit of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
A few years back, the United States used to be world's largest trading and investment country. But since 2013, this place has been lost to China. China taking initiatives to set up Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BRICS, AIB, etc., and taking membership in various other trading blocs has awakened the United States to the reality that it is a very different world in China's assertive engagement in these multilateral institutions, including nations and various other organs of United Nations, to foster a common development, common prosperity, that to some extent common security. That's so as to build economic communities or security communities in the region. Whereas the United States interest, I think, is totally different to I would say, to sustain its global hegemony.
That's two things that really moved me. One is when he called upon people to 牢记使命，不忘初心 after he became president. The communists were fighting for a better society for China, for the people of China, and the revolutionary spirit needs to be kept in mind. The other thing is the 人类命运共同体. It's a shared future for mankind. The idea of having the world perspective.
The GDI, or the Global Development Initiative, that President Xi launched and discussed at the United Nations, is very important. It says that China wants to cooperate with all the rest of the world, and especially with the developing countries, to promote global sustainable development and the Sustainable Development Goals.
This has been, I think, the leading initiative in modern history to bring about a new global development order. It is emphasizing the necessity of modernization and infrastructure in order to overcome poverty in all areas of the developing world. I see no other positive initiative of the type. At this time, there is nothing that has shown itself to be functioning in the scope and in the direction that the Belt and Road Initiative has actually done.